I think Hall Effect sticks should just be standard on handhelds at this point, or at least on the expensive ones. I can understand them not being on something like a $50 or a $60 retro handheld, but on anything that's worth more than $100, they should really be in there. And I'm not saying Hall Effect sticks are just going to be automatically better, but for the most part they are. And having the peace of mind that you don't have to worry about drift is pretty nice. So it was kind of weird that Asus decided not to include him in the Ally X. And sure, I understand they were trying to hit a price point, but I really don't think Hall Effect sticks are going to add that much more to the final cost, and it would have been really nice to have them. But what's done is done, and as usual, if a handheld is popular enough, there's going to be third-party options, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. The folks over at Handheld DIY were nice enough to send me a pair of their TMR Hall Effect sticks, and I gotta say, I really like these. But before we get into the installation and are they worth it or not for you, let's talk a little bit about what TMR Hall Effect sticks are and how they compare to something like a Hall Effect stick. TMR stands for Tunnel Magnetoresistance. Both TMR and Hall Effect are sensing technologies used in things like switches on keyboards and obviously analog sticks. Both of them are going to be better than your traditional potentiometer sticks because none of the internals are rubbing against each other, so your chances of some component breaking down are going to be much lower. It can still happen, but it's just not as common. TMR is a quantum mechanical effect that happens when electrons travel through a thin insulating layer between two ferromagnetic materials. And I really don't think any of you are going to care about that, so let's just say that TMR sticks are going to be more durable, they're going to be more precise, and they're going to use less power than traditional Hall Effect sticks. So if you're looking for the best possible upgrade, TMR is going to be the way to go, especially if you're somebody that really needs precision inputs for things like first-person shooters or maybe even racing games. Because I don't know about you, but if you've ever played a game where you're trying to control a vehicle and the sticks don't have the best input, it can be a real pain, especially on something like GTA where just driving a car in general is already kind of a pain. That just makes it way worse. Alright, now that we have an idea of how TMR sticks are going to compare to your traditional Hall Effect sticks or your regular sticks, let's look at the installation, what comes in the box, and all that stuff. The pair I have from Handheld DIY also have increased resistance, so they're just going to feel a little bit tighter and they're going to let you take full advantage of that higher precision. So again, if you're playing a lot of first-person shooters, this might make it a little bit easier just to hit those long-distance shots. These come in a very simple package. Inside you get some instructions, a Phillips screwdriver, some plastic tweezers, and of course the analog sticks. And as you can see, they don't come with any caps. That's because you're supposed to use your own, which I'm okay with because I like the feeling of the stock sticks for the Ally X. And if you have anything like a riser or some stick caps that you already like, you can just keep on using those. They also sent these high-res caps, which I'll talk a little bit more about later in the video. So to get these installed, the screwdriver and the tweezers are going to get you most of the way there, but you're still going to need some type of pry tool or a guitar pick to be able to get the back cover off. Once you have everything set up, you're going to go ahead and take your screwdriver and you're going to remove the 6 screws on the back. Keep in mind that one of them, the one in the bottom middle row, is not going to come out. That one has a stopper, so it stays there, so don't try to force that one out. Once you have those loosened up, go ahead and take your pry tool and work it all the way around the handheld to be able to remove the back cover. Once you have that off, don't just rip it away because there's going to be a ribbon cable in the back connecting the 2 back buttons. So just gently pull that down, disconnect that ribbon cable, and now you can set that out of the way. Once that's off, we can start working on the analog sticks. And the first thing we're going to do is disconnect the ribbon cables and then start working on the screws. I'm going to start with the one on the left side, which would be the right analog stick. So just remove that little piece of tape that's covering up one of the screws and take the 3 screws out. Once that's out, go ahead and take the cap off of that one, put it on the new Hall Effect stick, and we're going to just drop it right back in. Since it's the same cap, we're not going to have any issues with anything getting in the way or bumping or grinding. And that's it. Put the screws back in, reconnect that ribbon cable. Repeat the process on the right side, which would be your left analog stick. Same thing, ribbon cables off, take the screws off, take the cap off, switch it, drop it back in, screw everything back on, reconnect the cables. Now, once they're connected again, go ahead and power on the handheld, but don't put the back cover on because now we need to calibrate them. Once it's back on, you're going to turn on your web browser and you're going to go to Gamepad Tester. Now, I haven't seen anybody else have this issue, but it did happen to me that when I powered the handheld back on, the sticks were drifting like crazy. If that's happening, go into the Aces Armory Crate software, calibrate the sticks, and that will go away. I know the official instructions say to not do that, but that was the fix for me. And once I did that, I was actually able to go into Gamepad Tester and everything was working just fine. It didn't even seem like I needed to do any further calibrations, but just to be safe, we're gonna go through those steps right now. So once you're in Gamepad Tester, you might notice that your sticks aren't centered or they might just not be calibrated properly. What you're gonna do is in the back, there's gonna be two buttons, K1 and K2. We're gonna start with the first one, which is K1. Press that and you should see the LED start to blink. Once that happens, rotate your stick 3 times, press it again, and it should be calibrated now. If the analog stick isn't sitting right in the middle, what you're gonna wanna do is press K2, move the stick until the cursor is right in the middle, and then press K2 again. That's gonna save it, and now your stick should be centered. You're gonna repeat this process for both analog sticks, and once you're done, you're gonna go back into Armory Crate, you're gonna calibrate everything again, and once all of that's done, you should be good to go. I know this sounds a little bit tedious, but it's actually not that bad. For most people, you're just gonna open this up, go Gamepad Tester, and you're gonna do K1, rotate, K1 to save, and then press K2, move the stick to the center, K2 again, and it's gonna be saved. I'm just making sure that we go through all of the steps because like I said, when I first loaded these up and I calibrated an Armory Crate, they were working just fine, but the company says that this is the way to do them, so I'm just gonna share that with you. If you compare these to the regular sticks, you'll notice that these are reporting a higher error. That's because you're going outside of the circle range and mapping as a square, which is what you want ideally with most analog sticks, because some games are counting on those corners being squares besides that circle. So if you're playing a game that does require that, you might not get a full input when you're going in a diagonal direction. Now, I didn't really notice that issue with the games I have been playing with the stock sticks, but I do know that this is something some games require, so it is good that this takes care of that if it was ever potentially a problem for you. Now, getting into actual testing, I'm going to be playing Doom because that's a game that I go back to a lot, and I don't play Call of Duty on PC. I also don't play Fortnite, none of that, so even if I was to load it up, I couldn't give you an honest difference because I just don't spend a lot of time in those games. Now with Doom, I've played that game plenty, and I can tell you that these sticks do feel a little bit smoother. They feel like they're easier to hit precise movements with, which I get it. Doom isn't going to be the best benchmark for that because it is a pretty chaotic game. You're running around, everything's happening really fast. But I can tell you from user experience, from spending a good amount of time in this game, yes, these do make a difference. Another game where I noticed a huge benefit was with GTA 5. Now, this isn't a game you would typically think of to test analog sticks with because it's not a precision shooter or anything like that, but controlling the vehicle with the stock sticks is a lot harder than it is on a regular controller, or at least that was my experience. And when I installed these, I loaded that game up, I was actually able to get a lot better input out of them and actually get out of the way of cars, and it just didn't feel as jerky or as out of control as it normally feels. You know, you're still gonna wreck playing this game, but that's just because for some reason Rockstar just can't nail the mechanics of movement. But that's a whole separate topic. What I'm trying to say here is that yes, these sticks did make the driving experience better. Was it perfect? No, but I think that's more to do with the game than anything else. Still though, it got really, really close to what I get out of my full-size controller when I'm playing on my PC. I also played a little bit of Portal just because I'm finally playing this game and it's been a lot of fun, and the sticks work great. It was really easy to get those fine precision movements, especially because this was a game originally made for keyboard and mouse, and sometimes you do need to have those more precise movements. Again, this isn't a game that's not going to be playable with regular analog sticks. It's just one that I've been playing, so I wanted to check it out. Now, before we wrap up, I did say we were going to talk about these high-res caps, and these are pretty interesting. Now, I'm not personally a big fan of using things like these on controllers, but I know for people that are really into shooters, these do make a difference and it helps them out, especially that really tall one on the right stick because it makes it easier to aim. But like I said earlier, I don't play Call of Duty, I don't play Fortnite or any of those, so I was wondering what game could I use to test these out. So I loaded up Halo Reach and I started going into a level where I remember I was sniping, and it was actually a lot easier to get those more precise shots. But then again, this game does kind of help you with the aiming a little bit too, so there's that. Still, these felt pretty good. They do have a rubber coating, so they don't feel like cheap plastic ones, even though they're only $5. So if you just wanted to pick these up to see if you like them, just add them to the order. It goes from $29.99 to $34.99, so it's just $5 more, and who knows, these might be a good fit for you. Me, I'm probably not going to use them a whole lot, but if you are somebody that plays a lot of competitive shooters, these could help you out. Personally, I really like these, and I think for $30, it's a pretty good deal. If you're a power user, if you daily drive an Ally, and you just want that little bit of extra peace of mind knowing that these sticks are going to last you longer, going to have less issues, and they're going to be more precise and just generally feel a little bit better than what you already have out of the box. I know for some people, this might not seem like a worth it upgrade, you know, if your sticks are working fine, but for a lot of users, I know that if you already invested that much into a handheld, you want the best possible experience, and that's exactly what these are going to give you. But what do you think? Is this something you want to pick up? Were you just curious about it, or do you already have them? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.